welcome back to Wholehearted Homemaking. My name is Heather, and today I wanted to share with you about getting your kids involved in the garden. It's garden season, and if you are like me, you are just itching to plant if you haven't already. And one of the things that I love about garden season is being outside. I love getting my hands in the dirt, but not everybody loves that. And the thing is, on top of it, it takes time. So how am I going to balance that with home education with my kids? Well, I merge the two. And I don't really do it as a unit study per se, but it is a unit study. I have something that I call garden school, and I approach it really informally over the years. However, I have put together a guide for those of you who really need something kind of cut and dry of how to go about doing this. Let me walk you through how it has grown in our family over the past few years. And at the end, I'll share with you how to get a hold of this guide so that you can do it yourself. Now, over the years, I have grown as a gardener. I still think I'm a novice, as I told you in my last video where I walk you through how I do our garden plans. But I have been able to find a way to get my kids involved every year and along the way. Now, when we first started out, we lived in apartments, and we just started with flowers, and it wasn't very much, and my child helped me very willingly, as your firstborn child is willing to do when they're the only one, really. After that, we have lived in apartments, we have lived with family, we have lived in a small yard, big yard, what have you, but we have always had some form of a garden. The best way that I have known to start is to start my kids with an edible plant that they enjoy. And for us, that has actually been peas, which is funny because we don't like peas typically as our family. But peas grow rather quickly, and for little hands, peeling those pods off the stem and then opening them up to see how many peas are inside is like phenomenal excitement. And so that has been our gateway plant, if you will. I have done it in pots, I've done it in raised beds, I've done it in the ground. Regardless of how you do it, you really can't go wrong with growing sweet peas. Now, there are lots of other things that grow quickly or even take a longer time that may be the gateway plant for your family. But peas have been a wonderful way to start with 2 years old and up and grow them. And so that's what we do. We just plant one vegetable. Over time, we had more kids, and so we needed to extend that. So they each got a pot, and they got to choose a plant that they wanted to grow. And they got to do that. Then they would observe, take care of that plant that was their baby for the spring and summer. At another point, we were able to have a raised bed that we could divide into sections. Each child had a section, and in that section, they were able to plant whatever would fit in that section. So they may have vegetables and flowers, they may have only flowers, they may have fruits and flowers, whatever combination fit in their section. And that worked really well for my kids because it gave them some ownership. We have now been doing this enough that I don't feel the need to give my children an individual plot unless they ask, and they do know that they are allowed to ask every year. We do ask them, is there something specific you want to plant? In general, though, they are happy to just plant for the family. So if they really wanted to plant corn, then they help plant the family plot of corn or whatever it may be, which we will not be doing corn again. We have a raccoon problem. But to get my kids excited about garden season, to be as excited about me, because really, let's face it, out of 7, 1 of my kids is as excited about garden season as me. And so to do that, I do incorporate a little more garden-themed activities throughout our school days. And I go through this in my guide that I will share here at the end. But books, amazing way to get into the garden feeling and learning about the garden and excited for all things garden. Another option is poetry. I have included in the guide some poems for you to use, and we've used it for copywork. We've used it just to read in the mornings. We've used it for recitation, what have you. There are some folk songs that you could sing. That is not a favorite of ours. Granted, we started with in an English country garden, and it is not my favorite tune. But you could do folk songs. I do not include those. And picture study. We love paintings of flowers and things, and all things gardener, so I do include that as well in the guide. And they are all in the public domain, so you can print them free of charge, no legal issues. And so I do encourage you to just find those ways to incorporate garden things in your day. Now, I talk all about this on the blog in much more detail and also in the curriculum packet that I'm going to share with you. But today, I really wanted to focus on the main thing I do to get my children involved in the garden, as well as counted towards school, and that is nature study. As you know, Charlotte Mason is a big encourager of nature study. That's one of the main tenets of a Charlotte Mason education. And it's one that is easily done, but also easily skipped. So I'm going to give you a couple of different options for nature study. And as I said, I go into more detail on the blog and on in the packet. It gives you some instructions on how to. But I have 4 main things that you can do. 1, plant. Easy, right? If you're going to do anything gardening, you're going to plant. Now, there's different options. You could plant it in a little pot inside. There's so many options, cardboard, whatever. You can do the seed on a window and watch it grow. You can plant something in a pot outside, plant it in your garden, in your raised bed, or in your bed. And then the goal is to just watch it grow. Sounds easy, right? The way we do that in our family is that we plant it. Before we plant it, we nature journal about the seed, and then we plant it, and we may write down what day we planted it in our nature journal, and then over probably about once a week, we'll go out and check on it, and if it has changed in any way, which those first few weeks are a little dull, we will then put it in our nature journal, and so they can watch it grow. The point is to get them out there and observe what is changing and what is happening to the plant. So that was tip 1. Plant something, watch it, nature journal, right? Okay, number 2, you can play sit and spot. This is actually the easiest and probably should have been number 1. Sit and spot is simply you sit and you spot things, okay? So whether it is in a botanical garden, your own yard, or in the forest, wherever you want to go, you can play sit and spot anywhere. Now, sit and spot, you want to tone down the time that you're sitting and spotting based on your child's age, but anywhere between 2 and 5 minutes of sitting and observing that thing. Now, when I first introduce it to my kids, I have them take in everything. You sit, what do you hear, what do you smell, what do you see, and then they just rocket fire it back at me. But when I'm having them do it for something specific, we're going to go sit in the garden. I want you to find something to look at, and I want you to look at it until my timer on my phone goes off. And so they're going to sit and observe it. Then after that timer comes off, they're going to tell us what they chose. Now, all my kids will probably choose something different. Maybe they'll choose the same thing. It doesn't matter. They're going to describe it back to me. Then if you want to take it a step further, have them journal it. That's simple. Have them draw it. And remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. If you have perfectionists in nature drawing, trust me, I've been there. The tears are hard, but you can help them through that by letting them know that they are not expected to draw it perfectly. They're expected to show what they saw, and they are supposed to try to get some of the main things. If it becomes a big contention, have them write it down rather than draw, or dictate to you so that you can write it down, because we don't want anybody to come away from this experience upset and angry. The goal is to have a chance to focus and attend to the object at hand. All right, number 3, looking at my list here. Oh, weather chart. Super easy is charting the weather. We like to do phenology wheels. Here's mine for this month. You can see it's very incomplete. But you can use a phenology wheel. Mine are from Juniper Grove Journals. I just love their products. I love their family. They live down the road from us. But these are wonderful because the chart is already there and you can add as little or as much detail as you want. I will show you one of my first ones. Very simple here. You don't have to add a lot, but it has it all the whole month. You have all the pages there, and so you can chart the weather on there. In my curriculum, I share a link on how you can make a phenology wheel and also track your plant growth. If it's something that grows quickly, if it grows slowly, it may not be the best option. All right, but you're going to chart the weather. You can also just do a handy dandy old chart where you have the temperature, the weather, the cloud cover, precipitation, whatever it is you want to measure, and just chart it out. My oldest likes to do it that way, and that is a great option for those who maybe don't want to do the artsy side of it. And another is to simply make tables and lists if they are very mathematical minded and want to do it that way. And the last thing I wanted to share for nature study is object lessons. Now, I am not an expert at object lessons. I am still trying to get the handle on those, but I do share some tips for object lessons in the curriculum. Object lesson is that you're going to choose an object and ask open-ended questions. So you could choose a water bottle and do an object lesson. You could do an object lesson on any object. That's the point. The point is to get them to focus and attend and to describe. Now, I am going to choose nature objects because I'm including this as part of my nature study. So I give a list of some suggestions, but an example would be to grab a flower, any flower. We have tulips blooming right now, and so I may grab the tulip. I actually just did this with my 3 and 1 year old without even realizing I was doing it. But we went out and we looked at our red tulips. We're like, oh wow, what's inside it? And I did direct them a little bit, but more it was oh, what do you notice about this one? And they noticed, oh well, this one's all crumbly, and this one has sparkles inside it that look kind of dirty, and they noticed that this one was taller than that one. And that's what you want to do. You're trying to drive their attention towards that thing. With older kids, you should hopefully be getting some more of those senses. So maybe they might notice the smell. If you're doing something that's edible, like a violet, you might have them taste it. There are all kinds of options. Check out the first 5 sentences, have them notice, have them ask questions. I wonder why, and have them do it reminds me of. Those come from John Muir Laws. I notice, I wonder, it reminds me of are great ways to get them to focus on it. If you're needing a little more help, you can direct that. As you go through the Handbook of Nature Study, there's some great examples, and she is much more focused than what I think Charlotte Mason shows in a lot of her examples, where they're a little more open-ended, but it just kind of depends on what you feel comfortable with. Those are wonderful ways to get those object lessons of just getting them to attend a few more minutes, a little more detail, notice a little bit more, think a little bit deeper about the object. In my curriculum packet, I share all these kinds of ideas and some ways to get you focused. It is in my teacher store. It is also on the blog, and I call it Garden School. You, by all means, do not have to do that. Stick with the informal. Get out in the garden, nature journal away. Okay, that's an easy way to do it. But if you need a little bit more hand-holding, need a little bit more direction, I do have a 6-week guide that allows you to kind of follow along. And like I said before, books are a wonderful gateway, and I get those from the library. I own very few, and I get my favorites from the library. I actually just checked some out and said, oh man, I really need to buy this. This is like the 12th time I've checked it out. So books are a great way. Poems are quick and simple. Read them over breakfast, read them over lunch, listen to them in the car, read them as you go about your day. You could use them for copywork if you need some extra copywork for the month. Poems are a great way. Nature. So here I have some specific nature object lessons, activities to do that will help you, and that can count as science. There is not an elementary science standard that does not have something to do with nature and nature study. But I do encourage you to check those out if you need to. And then art, looking through art and creating art, and I have some different ways to extend those activities in the curriculum. But if you are like, I really want formal, but I don't like what you did, that's me. I don't follow curriculums. Here's a blank guide as well. Or just peruse and take some of the ideas and do what works for your family. The goal here is to get you and your kids out in the garden, enjoying nature together. It is such a wonderful time, but I know not all kids want to be out there. So let's give them activities to do to draw their attention and get them to enjoy the spring and the beauty that God has created. All right, that's all I have for you today. Next week, Lord willing, I will be back sharing what I am doing for grade 1 and walk you through how I plan our own Charlotte Mason curriculum. Don't forget to check the blog for more information regarding this curriculum and my Teacher Pay Teacher store that has this free curriculum download for you. All right, happy gardening season, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Let us go forth and strive to serve the Lord and our families wholeheartedly.